Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your midday market report for Friday, February 11th, 2022, as we are just a handful of days away from the Super Bowl. Rams, I think I'm going to say holding strong at -4 now, the under at 48 and a half. Lot of Bengals money. Mattress Max stepped up to the plate again, I think, with another 3 mil on them. So hedging his bet very well. I guess his promotion was if the Rams win or the NFC wins, I don't know what his promotion is, but excuse me, but he's got almost $8 million on the Bengals. So again, I say this very nicely. He's got $8 million on the Bengals. Not that he believes the Bengals are going to win. He's just hedging and offsetting, just in case the Rams do. But it's Friday, and it's one of our favorite times of the week. We get to go back to the Windy City and speak to Riley Magnuson, the Big Ten guru himself, the cheesehead presidente. Gives us an opportunity to talk NBA. I just retweeted it, and it's sick. If you're a chalk player, if you're a favorites player in the NBA, it's like 34-6 since last Saturday. I pointed that out to Riley a few days ago when we were on Wise Words, the season finale there. It's just crazy. It's almost like the NBA and the books are saying, all right, guys, we want to fill your pockets, so you give it back to us on Sunday in the Super Bowl. But without further ado, this is ECSI's version of From Rags to Riches, the one, the only, Mr. Riley Magnuson. Good afternoon, Riley. How are you?
My friend almost had my mic off there a little bit, but I am doing absolutely fantastic. Friday afternoon, you mentioned it. The NBA is an absolute on the court, off the court, gambling wise, non-gambling wise, an absolute madhouse right now. Yeah, you mentioned it. Talked about us on with us on Monday as far as what happened over the weekend. And things have not really slowed down at all. Maybe one little dog here or there managed to win or cover, but I mean, I'm interested to talk about it today, Jeff. There's 7 games, I think, and some big dogs and some big money or one-sided money coming in on just about every single one of them. So, or at least where I'm seeing. So I'm interested to talk about that today for a second. But nonetheless, I mean, it is Super Bowl weekend. I am fired up on my end of the thing. On my end of things, how about you?
You know what? I am, and it's kind of it's hard to say my actual feelings because, listen, I know NFL is such a big part of our business. Uh, but with that said, it's the biggest sport, the most heaviest bet sport. But when you look at it from our side of the table, it's a sport that you're not going to win for the most part. It doesn't matter 10-point favorites, minus 400, 500 on the money lines. And they lose outright. And, that's why we've always said here, NFL Sunday is any given Sunday. Anyone can beat anyone. And so now you got a game where there's going to be $1 billion at least on between prop sides and every part of this game bet. And it's picked through. The numbers are never sharper. So would I be shocked if the Rams won by 3 or 4? No, I wouldn't. Would I be shocked if the total landed right on 48, 49? No, I wouldn't.
No.
It's just what happens here. I talk here till I'm blue in the face or till someone really wants to listen here. One of those numbers is going to be spot on. I talked about 50 and a half or 51 was the opening total, and it's been bet down ever since. So in my eyes, I think the total goes 51 or higher. One of those numbers, or every Ram bet will be a loss because they win by 1 or 2, or the Bengals win outright. But the Westgate has 468 props. I mean, we could sit here for a full week and dissect them.
Jeff, it's overwhelming. I popped open a couple ones. I think one of them, Colt and I went through FanDuel, and I think that one has a decent, or that one does have a decent layout. There's a couple other ones though. I was looking through DraftKings. It is a sea of almost nonsense. If you're not like it almost takes you 15, 20 minutes to master the layout of where these props are and how to access them. So I'm with you. As far as the total, I'll probably stay far away from that total because I think that is the one that feels the most spot on, in my opinion, over here.
And as I started to say, I'm in no man's land, meaning this. I get the Rams plus 215. It was a future, and I honestly had Kansas City plus 400. So at halftime of the Kansas City Bengals game, now, meanwhile, I'm irate because they didn't take the 3 and go up 24-1. Here I'm thinking to myself, okay, if the Rams take care of business in game 2, I'm going to be sitting there with the Chiefs plus 400. And I'm going to be sitting there with the Rams plus 215. I'm guaranteed over 2 units. And then I could, play 10 props at a quarter a piece, all on the plus side, money side, and have a blast.
Yeah, I think something along those lines. I am not fortunate enough to have that angle. I've got a handful of different angles as far as the game is concerned. As far as who wins, I'm pretty staunchly on the opinion that the Rams are going to win the game. I'm not aggressively coming at you with the Rams -4 ticket, though. I do lean towards the Rams -4, but I'm not sitting here, because what you said, it would not shock me if they only won by 1 or 2. I personally believe that Rams defense is going to be the difference maker in this game. I know that's, obviously Joe Burrow's overcome that a lot of different scenarios. I personally believe the way the Rams are playing defensively right now, more so, kind of along the lines of that Titans game. But I trust Matt Stafford a little bit more than I trust, Ryan Tannehill to not throw 3 interceptions like he did in that game, and Derrick Henry fresh off the pine after 8 weeks. I trust the Rams a little bit more, and I think Joe Burrow's going to be running for it. I do, kind of like we saw last year with Patrick Mahomes against that Bucs defense. But like I said, not staunchly on that -4. It does feel like it should be down towards the -2.5, 3. But I do think they're going to win. I do think the Rams are going to win this one on Sunday here.
All right, we're going to circle the wagons. We'll get back to the Super Bowl. Let's talk NBA here. The run that the favorites are on, I'm telling you, it's setting up. It's like the start of the NFL year, okay? The month of September, you'll see all the favorites coming in. You'll see all the overs coming in, and the public and the DGens building up that bankroll. And a $50 player is now a $7,500 play because they're feeling a lot comfortable. They're like, holy shit, I'm seeing this board amazing right now. And then what happens is come October and November, when they stop coming in, and most of these guys need to reload, they don't make it to Thanksgiving Day, never mind December. The NBA, if you're just betting favorites, you're feeling pretty good right now.
Right. And you said that as far as on Monday, and I had already kind of in my head coming into that. I didn't realize that on Monday because I typically Saturdays and Sundays, I'm a lot more, whether it's college basketball, NFL, maybe I'll dive a little bit in the NBA if there's something that smacks me in the face or something like that. But you said that on Monday, and then I was like, okay, let's take it tentatively. We got to start seeing some dogs coming around the bend sometime here, right? But on top of all of that, it's trade deadline week, Jeff. You never know how if you're taking a wager 10 a.m. in the morning, if 2 of the 3 key players, whether it's role players or starters, are going to be traded by the afternoon, first of all, let alone if these guys are spinning in their head like, am I still going to be around? Do I have to be worried? This and that. So I told people to be tentative after what you said and a trade deadline. I definitely had less volume than I've had over the last few weeks because all through January and in the first week or so of February, I had a lot of success in the NBA. Then this week came crashing down. I've only had a few plays this week, but they are not cashing for me all the same because now I'm get to a spot where I'm just trying to pick off, okay, where are the valuable dogs? And you and I kind of went back and forth on Twitter. I don't know if it was Tuesday or Wednesday. The problem is a lot of these dogs right now are stinky as hell. The top half of the league is playing so damn well right now, and there's that bottom tier or the bottom of the pack teams that are just dumpster fires right now, even after the trade deadline. And now all you're seeing is 7 to 15 or 7 to 13 point spreads, and it's pretty damn tough. So I look at today's board and it's almost the exact same case. I don't. There's only really one favorite that I have a lot of confidence in. Not I shouldn't even say a lot of confidence, that I'm even considering having confidence in the way they've been playing, and that's the Boston Celtics. Jeff, up a little bit. I think from 5 up to 6. The only one that I saw. So I was just looking at a certain book. Everyone except that one had like 80% of bets and money or higher on a certain side. Celtics were still 70-ish percent where I saw it. So still the public side and still the monetary liability side. I've been talking about them in the last few weeks. Their defense has completely turned things around, and they're playing absolutely fantastic right now. They are playing the Nuggets. Nikola Jokic, he's an absolute monster, so that's what gives me concern. They've had a couple offensive outings the last couple that were really, really solid, albeit against mediocre teams. If I'm going anywhere with the favorite, though, it's probably the Boston Celtics tonight.
Yeah, they've kind of turned the table, and it's kind of funny. There were guys that they had on their team that were valuable for other teams, expiring contracts,
Yeah.
ones that will go into free agency. Schroeder, Richardson. They made so many moves yesterday. They got rid of one of the young guns there, the guards.
I know they got rid of PJ Dozier, who has been out. I know they got rid of him. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
Who was the guard from Purdue that had the great?
Oh, Carson Edwards.
There was Edwards, and they're top heavy there, and they're not seeing any time. And so they have to make 2 moves today just to field the team. So
Right.
it's roster. So in other words, it's compatible to what the NBA is telling you. Hey, you got to have this many guys on your roster.
Right. And across the board, I mean, can you confidently look at any of these dogs? And I mean, the part that's kind of has me conflicted is you turned me on to this trend, and I've come the last few, and we've talked about a lot of these, fade the public sides on a Friday in the NBA, and it's been really successful for us on the show, Jeff, over the last month. And like I said, I think 6 of these 7, at least in a certain spot that I saw, 6 of these 7 dogs or 6 of these 7 favorites are getting 80% of money or higher. But where do you have confidence in is the real question. It is my question to you. The Spurs +8. I like them in that spot, in that type of spot at home. On the road against Atlanta, I don't know. They can put the ball in the bucket, but I don't know. I had some success picking against my Bulls a handful of times. That looks like it could be. If I had to pick out what I guess is the one trap of the day, it's right there. As bad as they have been defensively efficient wise, they've kind of shorted up with their offensive efficiency. But having said that, it is last time I saw over 90% of money on the Bulls, and it's come down from 4.5. So that one concerns me. I'm done betting on against my Bulls. I do not enjoy it. It is not fun when I do that, because I still watch it, Jeff, and now I'm just conflicted because of course I'm not going to root against them, but then I'm rooting against my money. Like, keep me out of that nonsense. But the one that's crazy to me, before I kick it back to you, the 76ers, James Harden's not playing tonight, and they are 13 and a half point favorite at home against the Thunder. No Seth Curry, obviously still fantastic squad. Before James Harden comes over without Seth Curry, but that one screams. I don't know what it screams to me. I think I'm just going to stay out of it. But I don't have enough confidence laying the points with the Sixers after they just made that trade, and now they still aren't getting James Harden back until it looked like next week. It said.
It's funny because I looked at that smelt a little to me, and Boston playing a lot better, 6-point favorites. I know they're at home. Denver's one of those teams. I say it all the time. You go against them, and Jokic is, 40, 20, and 10.
Yeah.
And
he's a combo of Larry Bird and Shaq when you bet against him, right?
Your Minnesota Chicago jumps out at me if that was the one dog. But I tell you, this is what jumps out at me. The under-overs at 241 and a half.
Oh, I know. I forgot to mention 241. Are you crazy? I mean, they just had, what was their game the other day against the Hornets? It started at like 230 and went up to 237. And that one fell under. Something's wrong with the Hornets, so I don't know if that was more so the Bulls are starting to play better defensively, which they are a little bit, but something's wrong with the Hornets, first of all. So that's another favorite that I might be interested in fading is the Hornets. And now you've got the Timberwolves coming into town. I'm not taking the over 241, but I sure as heck ain't. I don't know that I'm taking the under either. These games have been absolutely absurd with offense and just total lack of defense without the Bulls. Three defensive guys. So, yeah, 241. I don't know. Is that the highest total we've seen all season long? I mean, compared to last year, I saw a bunch in that range last year, but this season. That 230 game against the Hornets was I was reacting the same way. Now we're 241 on a Friday night. My goodness.
And the splits are 58% of the bets on the over, 79% of the money on the over. Listen, when I see something like that, it's like, other than marquee college games, if I see two regular teams, not big name teams, and they're opening number on the totals 160, I'm taking the over. I got burnt yesterday on it. We had the over in the Eastern Washington Weber State game.
Okay.
And it landed on like 153 or 154, and it closed at 157. But I saw that, and I'm like, listen, 241. Yeah. Listen, anyone playing the NBA tonight, listen, I just some beer and pizza money. You got to take the over there.
You do, and I've had a bunch of success with it over the last 2 weeks. Not so much the other day against the Hornets, because kind of how I said, something's wrong with the Hornets. 6 straight losses, haven't been scoring like everyone's expecting them to. I don't think that's going to be the case with the Timberwolves here. And I think I told you a week ago, I've been not fading the Bulls, but picking their opponent's guards, because the Bulls' defensive efficiency kind of starts with the lack of defense that they have with their guards, really, without Lonzo and Caruso. And so maybe take a look at if you're ever a person that likes player props ever, maybe take a look on a couple over for some of the Wolves or even the Bulls. I don't know, Kobe White. Kobe White's kind of been a factor where he's been scoring, but also a revolving door. So I typically have been finding at least one guy when the Bulls are playing someone with any type of offensive success to pick on some overs as far as point props are concerned.
Before we leave the NBA and head over to college land, what is your thoughts? I'll tell you mine briefly on the big trade that we had talked about earlier in the week that looked like it was going to go. Harden goes to Philly. He made it clear to the Nets that he was going to go into free agency. It's pretty clear that him and Kyrie weren't seeing eye to eye. Right. The Sixers in return just give up Ben Simmons, who was never going to play for them again. They give up Seth Curry, they give up Drummonds, and they give up a couple of draft picks. Now, to me, my initial thought is, hey, no one's going to have fresher legs than Ben Simmons. Let's be honest there. Second of all, you put him with his length and his ability with KD. That's a long, long athletic team right there. Now, short term, I think the Nets are that. Listen, their value has never been lower. They've lost 8, 9 in a row, 10 in a row, whatever, 10 in a row.
9 or 10,
yeah. They were the preseason favorite. They were the favorites going up to December. Now you go to the Sixers, who Embiid is on a mission. You're adding a scorer with Harden. Short term, long term, who won the deal? Who do you like better moving forward?
It's a good question, Jeff. In a perfect world, I think, in a keyword, in a perfect world, I think it's fantastic for both teams. I think if we get Harden locked in and, anywhere close to 100% vintage Harden paired with Embiid, I think that's a lethal combo. Is that going to work in the short term as far as distribution of, usage rate? I'll bet on yes. I think it's a good move. I personally just think when Kevin Durant comes back healthy that he is just an absolutely unbelievably impossible man to stop. And you mentioned it, and I 100% agree with you as far as defensively for the Brooklyn Nets. Just speed and athleticism, what they can bring defensively now is going to be, and I tweeted it yesterday, the team that should be, I don't know if shaking in their boots is the right word, but as far as the Nets versus the Milwaukee Bucks, that makes things so much harder for the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo in a 7-game playoff series with the amount of options that the Nets can throw at them defensively. And I know it's fun to for the general public to make fun of Ben Simmons, what we've seen in the past, and shooting the ball, and I get it. I don't think the same amount of pressure is going to be on him. as far as offensively, shooting the ball or free throws, whatever it is, you've got KD and Kyrie who they're not going to want the ball to leave their hands. And Ben Simmons, a really good passer. I mean, he's a good facilitator. And so I like it from that standpoint to where the Embiid Simmons pairing didn't work in my opinion because Embiid needs a lot more space where Simmons kind of clogs things up in the lane or wherever you are on the floor offensively. Whereas KD and Kyrie, especially KD can get his shot from anywhere over anyone and does that. The spacing there isn't as big of a factor as it was when Simmons was in Philly. So personally, I think it's the Nets that honestly, short term and long term, I like this Nets team this year to win the title if they're healthy. If all three of those guys are healthy, I like them to win the championship this year. And now you mentioned it with the if Harden was wherever he was, Brooklyn or Philly, trying to leave free agency, he's got I think he's got a player option for next year, which obviously he's going to make a lot of money if he declines that. Right? Go ahead.
He did decline it, and so Philly, I think, will owe him $47 million next year.
Right. And now you've got Ben Simmons under contract if you're the Nets for, I want to say, I don't know off the top of my head, but the next 3 to 4 or 5 years, along with KD, who you've already got under contract. And now instead of having to worry about KD, Kyrie, James Harden, who do we have moving forward? You've got KD and Ben Simmons locked down for the foreseeable future to where you've created yourself a nice championship window. If it's not, because it's not championship or bust anymore for the Brooklyn Nets, is kind of how it appears to me, where with Harden, it was like last year, this year, we got to win a championship or else maybe we can figure it out. But now we've got a lot more questions. Now it's what's the future that you have with Kyrie? Are you bringing him back for the long haul? Or are you, just sticking with KD and Ben Simmons and building your team around those two? They've got a lot more flexibility for the next 4 years. And our friend Lucky Fade mentioned now they've got a couple more first-round picks as well. Probably not going to be, lottery picks from the Sixers necessarily. But you at least get a nice long-term chip there. And also you replace, obviously not the same caliber player by any means, but you get a nice piece this year for in Seth Curry. That's nothing to scoff at all. As far as a nice shooter on the wing to pair with all of these guys. So I personally believe in a perfect world, this could be fantastic for the Sixers too. I think the safer bet as far as who wins this trade now and in the future is the Nets, though.
And I'll add a little salt to that one because I agree 100% with you.
Yeah.
Colin Coward said that, KD, you don't need the drama. You don't need the headaches anymore after this year. Just adios, because we don't know what Kyrie is going to do. I said to your partner there, Colton, yesterday, he's probably going to just get on a ship and he's going to prove to the world that it is flat. But I'm just going to go out here. I don't have any information. I do not have any sources on this, but just the way the world is turning, I'm going to just say here at 2:23 Friday the 11th, it's timestamped, that by the start of the NBA playoffs, Kyrie is going to be able to play home games. That's just what I think is going to happen.
I think so too. And because I saw something that, they could pay a fine or something along those lines once they get to the playoffs. That wouldn't be, a ton of money. I don't know off the top of my head for sure. I 100% agree with you. Otherwise, that would just be an absurd, hula hoops to jump through one game after another. If you're the Nets, are you fine that you've dropped all these games because now you're going to be the road team and you get 4 road games with Kyrie as opposed to 3 home games or 4 home games without him? Is that part of the strategy? I don't think so. And now from someone who, if they're healthy, I don't love our chances as a Bulls fan to beat the Nets, but I at least am happy to be in these types of conversations. It's like, oh, do we want to be, the road team in that series going to the Nets where we only have to see Kyrie 3 times instead of 4 times? I don't know, but it's so ridiculous. But I think the crazier thing, Jeff, is that over whatever it was, obviously last year's season didn't start quite on time. So I don't know how many games, but the crazy part about this is that trio only played 16 games together, right? As far as over the last 400 days, 16 games. And they were 13-3 when they did play together. They were great together for, on paper. But that's the crazy part to me is just how little they played together on my side of things.
I'm going to jump to the kids, college, and I'm still seething. I had a great show on the closing bell yesterday. I brought up a lot of good spots. I'm mad at myself for the ECSI VIP guys because I left two games that stood out to me. One was Carolina against the Bruins. There was no Pasternak. There was no Marchand. Bruins offensively challenged, obviously, without them. I didn't like the fact that the number was going 145, 150. And of course, Carolina wins 5-0 or whatever it was. But here's the one that's really sticking in my craw. And I told everyone listening, I says, take this side. And I'm not an in-game guy. I'm not here to promote it, but you'll know early if this team came to play. And that was the Wolverines yesterday against Purdue.
Oh,
and
yes.
and could have got them +4, plus around 128 on the money line. Purdue's just been steamrolling everyone. We've talked at length about the Michigan team. It's not, Juwan Howard's Fab Five, but they show flashes, and they showed it yesterday.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of how we've been talking. I 100% because that was the second time they played, right? And they gave them a run for their money the first time around. I've just kind of taken a firm stance of I don't want anything to do one way or another with this Michigan team because it did look like a great spot last night, but I still just, whether it's over under side, I don't know, and maybe that's enough for them to get the wheels rolling in the right direction. But I'll be damned if I try to bet on them in the next game and they don't lose by 20 because that's what I fully expect, Jeff. I don't know what we see from them moving forward, but it was at least impressive last night, especially Purdue coming off of a huge win against my Illini. I mean, they looked fantastic in that second half. So just goes to show you how crazy the Big Ten is and is going to be over the next month, and how crazy the teams are going to be, win or lose in March. And I can't wait. I hope this is the year that the Big Ten ends their title drought of whatever it is now, 20 years or so. But I don't know. Purdue's got to have a little more consistency as far as just talking about them for March. I mean, do you trust them for whatever it is, 5-6 games straight? I mean, I feel pretty confident if you're betting on them game by game, you probably have some value for 2 or 3, but that third or fourth game, they're going to rear their ugly head and kind of lay a stinker like they have all season after their third or fourth straight game. You know what I mean?
There's no Glenn Big Dog there. There's no one that can take over a game.
Right.
But on paper and just the way they're made up and their style, they can beat anyone in the country. There is absolutely no doubt, and especially come tourney time on the neutral courts, they match up so well with everyone. And like you said, get through the first weekend, sure. Get through the second weekend. I think Sweet 16, okay, Elite Eight, yeah, maybe, but. I got a handful of teams in the Elite Eight that I would be leaning before I'd be leaning Purdue.
Yeah, I agree with you. I haven't laid it out quite like as far as who exactly I think is going to be Elite Eight teams, but I agree with you because then once you even the Sweet 16 this year, I mean, we've talked about it 1 through 40, 1 through 50 is so damn close. I mean, the Sweet 16 is probably going to be absolutely stacked. We might get some Cinderellas here and there, but there's going to be some 6, 7 seeds that were kind of disrespected and figure it out, for lack of a better term, come tournament time, and could be upset kids to some of these teams that are 1, 2 seeds. I mean, I think it's going to be absolute mayhem in March, and I wouldn't be surprised if Purdue is a casualty of that.
Friday night in the hardwood, not the biggest, bestest of boards. Before we go into the weekend and your Big Ten review, anything in college today stick out to you?
Not my type of board, Jeff. The one game that I'm interested in, Colt actually had a player that I'm also interested in backing him, but it's the biggest game of the day. It's your Huskies going on the road to Xavier. I'm curious your thoughts, Jeff, because I have been staying out of the Big East for the most part over the last couple of weeks, but I'm interested where your thoughts are here. I've got kind of a lean from my side of things.
I've been talking at length. The Huskies have shined when they've got to the 80-point mark, and they did it right on the number earlier this week. It was a must-win against Marquette after losing to Creighton and Villanova. So I'll give you the Husky schedule. They play Friday tonight at Xavier. Then Sunday, on Super Bowl Sunday, they travel to St. John's. Then they come home and they face, I think it's Xavier on Tuesday. And on the 22nd, I know they have Nova. There's probably a game in between I'm missing. I don't like the line. I don't like what Ken Palm's saying. The under-over opened at 140 with an Xavier -1. So right there, they're telling me 71, 69, 71, 70, somewhere in there. So I'm not in that 76, 77, 78 range where I'm comfortable with UConn. The line stinks to holy hell. It smells. Um, I can't tell you other than at Nova the last time UConn was a dog. And so they're either giving too much respect to Xavier tonight. They're not sure what UConn team's going to show up. It's an man. My heart says UConn, but something smells here, Riley.
Yeah, so I mean, well, speaking of Colt, I mean, I told you he's got to play in this game, and I agree with him. I don't know if I might. We've got crazy amount of games tomorrow and UFC tomorrow, and then Super Bowl, so I might just keep it light today in general. He's going with Xavier minus. I think he caught it -1.5. I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me on that. Part of his angle is he doesn't expect. So I'm just giving him credit for this one. He doesn't expect them to lose 3 games in a row, and I kind of agree with that here on their home court. It's tough for me to see them losing a 3rd game in a row here. Just lost to DePaul and Seton Hall. And so that's kind of where my confidence would lie as far as them being in a bounce back spot here at home. But the Huskies, I mean, I don't know how confident I am because the Huskies, like you said, I mean, they can show up and be one of the best 15 teams in the country, for goodness sake, on their best day. So, I like I said, I might just stay out of this one altogether. I don't know. As far as college basketball, yeah, mid-major has not been my forte this year, or usually any year for that matter. But no Big Ten action today. This is the biggest one, so this is the one that I'm most interested in at least watching.
Saturday, Sunday, can you give us an update, a preview on what to expect in the Big Ten, what games are out there, what you're eyeing? Again, it's tough without any spreads. We can kind of figure out, get it pretty close to what the numbers would be. But what's the Big Ten look like this weekend?
Yeah, so as far as Saturday, I mean, the one that I'm interested in seeing what happens, I mean, I'm skipping over a couple. Michigan hosting Ohio State. Ohio State coming off of a road loss to the old Scarlet Knights, and now Michigan. Are they rolling? Are they for real? Or are they going to roll over and die? I will, like I said, I will probably stay far away from that one. Not sure what that line is going to be. I honestly don't. This is not a spot where I can tell you if it's this line, you should take this. If it's up to this high, you should take this one. I truly have no idea. I think it should be a good one, but I just said it. I'll be damned if I bet on Michigan and they don't lose by 20. So I'm going to stay out of that one. But that one could get interesting. Penn State, Minnesota. Penn State's been scrappy. That one just I'm not a huge fan of that one in general. Maybe we'll see a line there. Rutgers at Wisconsin. Maybe a fade spot of Rutgers on the road. If they were hosting the Badgers, I could see them putting up another fight. But they're on the road. I mean, 2-6. It looks like ATS on the road are Rutgers, and coming off of that win, I'd have to check. I'm curious to see what their record is or ATS number is this year in that next spot after they just took off took off that ranked team, kind of how they've done a couple times this year. I'm curious to see what their track is in that next spot. I would go ahead.
I'm going to interject for 1 second. Per Ken Palm, Michigan, Ohio State, they got Michigan 74-72. So technically they got Michigan -2.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if we'll see him as a dog or not. I guess that's interesting to me because it's not a case where, I mean, it's not football, right, where Ohio State's beat them in the last 10 matchups, right? It's a pretty even matchup historically, at least the last 5 years or so. So I guess I'm staying away. I won't talk myself into it, but maybe Michigan. Gun to my head, Michigan gets the win. I don't know.
I apologize to interrupt there. I just want
No, please.
I jumped to Ken Palm. So if you have any other games that we might want to peek for a spread, I can try to pull it up for you.
How about that Indiana-Michigan State game? That should be actually a really, really good one. I'm blanking on if those teams have played each other already this year. No, they haven't. So this will be the first one. That one should be close. A really tough game because, as I've mentioned here on the show, and they're coming off of 2 losses, Indiana. And not as profitable, actually, against the number, not very good on the road this year is Indiana. So I'm interested to see what that spread is going to look like. But I've mentioned I like Indiana. Michigan State's also coming off of two losses. So as far as who's winning, again, that's another team where I think I tweeted it out the other day when they lost at home to Wisconsin. Why can someone show Tom Izzo a calendar? It's getting to be about that time of the year. Typically, this is about the time where they start to pick things up, right? Early February. And then they're primed for that March run that we've always seen, and it's not quite what we're seeing so far. So, gun to my head, I think Michigan State gets that bounce back at home, or Michigan State gets that bounce back at home. I'm interested to see what that spread would be, though.
Ken Palm has it 69-65, so Michigan State -4.
That sounds about right, actually. That sounds pretty damn spot on. So maybe I would, gun to my head, I would go Michigan if it's under 5 because of the struggles that Indiana's had on the road, but they're getting to a spot where they need to start putting together a better resume here. And I guess both these teams are technically, but yeah, I guess gun to my head, I'd go Michigan there at least by 5.
And just looking at the Michigan State resume, they're 17-6. There is we know they're in. I mean,
right.
But looking at they lose to Kansas opening day. Everyone loses to Kansas opening day. They rattle off 5 in a row. They beat my Huskies by 4. Loyola Chicago, who we know was good. They lose then to Baylor by 17, which back then Baylor was rolling. Then they put together 3, 6, 9 in a row. Now, here's where I'm going to get a little cranky with them. Yeah. They lose at home to Northwestern. They beat Wisconsin. Then they lose at Illinois, which is a respectable loss.
That was without Kofi Coburn, though, if you remember. That was without the Illinois big man.
Okay. Then they beat Michigan by 16 at home. They beat Maryland, the Twerps, by 2 at Maryland. And then they back-to-back losses. Now, they lose at Rutgers. We had that game last Saturday. And I wanted to bring this team up. Then at home, as 4-point favorites, they lose by 8 to Wisconsin. I'm starting to. I'm going to say this, and there's another team that, like we talked about, Purdue, that's going to burn us here. Wisconsin's starting to be the team in the Big Ten. They're 19-4. They have 3 losses. They're 10-3 in conference. A loss at Ohio State, a loss at Michigan State, and a loss at Illinois.
I'm glad you brought this up now because I've kind of had these thoughts in, kind of sporadic way. But now that we're staring at both these teams in general, Michigan State, we just said it. As far as this is about the time where they start to pick things up. We've seen it all year long. You just mentioned that 9-game stretch. You look at that 9-game stretch. I don't know that maybe there's one that's slightly impressive. And you mentioned that UConn and Loyola wins early were impressive. But that 9-game stretch, it's not really that impressive at all. And I'm torn because this is a team that I've really, really enjoyed watching and admired and what they've done at this time of the year, and it's not coming. If they smack Indiana in the mouth and get it a little bit rolling, then maybe I'll change my tune, but I think we could be staring at a quick exit for them. And on the flip side, I think you're right with Wisconsin. As far as if they can string it together for the rest of the Big Ten season, maybe they have a scuffle here and there. I think they should be in that conversation, but they could be that team that we've seen over the last 15, 20 years. Typically it's with Bo Ryan, right? Where maybe they're not as expected to make a deep run, but the next thing you know, they're staring at a Sweet 16 Elite 8 as a team that was kind of under their radar. Wouldn't surprise me at all if they were that team again this year. And, I don't know if they can rattle it off to, be that, top team in the Big Ten for the regular season. I'm not sure what their seeding looks like right now or what they could be projected for the tournament, but they could make a deep run. They absolutely could make a deep run. I wouldn't put them as like a Final Four team necessarily. It would shock me if they got over, more than a couple big name teams this year, but it would not shock me if they got Sweet 16 Elite 8.
Their closing schedule at home against Rutgers, Ken Palm has them 9-point favorites. 42% chance to win at Indiana. They have Indiana 2-point favorites. At home against Michigan is 4-point favorites. 3-point favorites at Minnesota, 1-point favorite at Rutgers. They have them losing at home. They got Purdue 2-point favorites at Wisconsin, and then they close with Nebraska. So they're only going to be dogs twice in their final 3, 6, 7 games, and one of them will be home against Purdue.
That's a pretty doable schedule to me. They might have the path to do it. I'm looking at Illinois' schedule right now because that's who they're tied with, right? 10-3 for the regular season standings. Illinois still got Michigan State, Ohio State, Michigan, Iowa. So I think those two teams will be neck and neck. I think Illinois has the tiebreaker, if I'm not mistaken, and they don't. Yep, Illinois got the tiebreaker there. I think they've only played once. Yeah, they've only played once. So Illinois got the tiebreaker between those, and then obviously Purdue's. If Purdue runs the table, they'll probably take it. They've still got Michigan State, and obviously you said Wisconsin and Indiana. And Indiana's a tough matchup for Purdue, so maybe Wisconsin's worth worth a look for Big Ten, whether it's regular season or even the tournament. I'm not sure what those odds are looking like right now, but that might be worth a sprinkle, Jeff.
No, I think we're on to something here. I'll be interested. I'll do some research there. I think the path is there for Wisconsin. Again, you're only going to be you're only going to be a dog at Indiana by 2, and then you're a 2-point dog at home to Purdue, which March 1st, Tuesday, that's probably setting up winner wins the Big Ten. And you were talking about regular season and conference, and I'm going to circle back to UConn. Nova's the favorite to win, obviously. Providence most likely, or Nova will win the Big East regular season. Nova is like the favorite at plus 140 to win the Big East tournament. UConn's the second favorite at 500. So all the people listening here on this show today, do me and do yourself a favor. Okay. Just go over to your book, your app, and if you can get UConn plus 500 to win the Big East tournament at Madison Square Garden, I always talk about pizza and beer. Okay. I'm not asking you to put a full unit. I'm not asking you even to put a half unit. Enjoy the ride with me because, okay, they're not going to win the Big East regular season. Vegas is telling me now, right, with these numbers, they're going to win the Big East tournament.
I will be right there with you, Jeff. I might do that right now if I'm being totally honest with you. Because, I mean, we're talking about these teams, what we've, historically over the last 15, 20 years, what they are. Do they remind us, kind of how we were with Wisconsin and Michigan State? I don't know if UConn reminds me of the full, Kemba Walker, Shabazz Napier, Ryan Boatwright type of late season success going all the way and winning the whole thing. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I totally agree with you as far as getting through the Big East. I mean, Villanova isn't the juggernaut that they look like to start the season. Gillespie, I actually don't know what his status is for the rest of the year, but he was obviously out of the last week or so. It could be worth the path. And, we've kind of talking, whether it's you and Colt, me and Colt, or the three of us as far as Providence. Colt and I love Ed Cooley, and he's been backing them for the entire season. I can't say that I've been on the train as far as he has, but you've kind of seen it over the year, the way the books have been valuing them. The books expect them to regress, and kind of it's almost to a point where they have to regress at that point of the season, right? Where it's the Big East, where they probably aren't going to win 3-4 games in a row. So I really like what you're saying here. I might be in the boat with you on the Huskies to win that Big East, especially at Madison Square Garden. I mean, one of the best tournaments in the conference tournaments in the entire country, and UConn, has shown that they've come to that stage pretty well prepared. So I like it, man.
Yeah, and I'll close with this: is you nailed it. Okay, everyone knows Nova. They were the preseason favorite to win the Big East, and in comes Ed Cooley and company. And they said not so fast, and I got it live, an eye opener. I think it was the first game of the Big East. Providence was 9-point underdogs, and they came into UConn in the XL Center and beat them outright. I was shocked, and then all of a sudden, in comes Marquette and the Shaka return and these guys. So everyone knows Nova. Everyone knows Ed Cooley and Providence. Everyone knows Marquette and Shaka. And the regression is, hey, we're getting ready for the March Madness. Hey, sometimes it's okay. You're going to be a 3, 4, 5 seed. It's okay. Hey, well, we're not going to the tournament in Madison Square Garden to lose. But if you lose in the second game, you're getting fresher legs come the following week on Thursday or Friday.
100%. So I guess we didn't mention them when we were talking about that. Are you expecting Marquette to have that same type of regression come the Big East tournament as well as Providence in the same vein? Okay, I agree with that for sure as well.
100%. So the true value, and Vegas again, Providence isn't the second favorite. Marquette's not the second favorite. Right. Okay, and Georgetown's not going to make a magical run and win 5 games in a row. We know that.
No.
All right, listen, I could talk to you for hours, and I need to let you go. Colton's going to kill me, but I'm not going to let you go this second. close this thing out with the Super Bowl. The floor is yours. Again, talk to everyone. I'm getting everyone's final thoughts on who they expect to win, maybe a final score, one or two props that you really like.
Alrighty, so Colton and I, as far as if you want a full breakdown, go back. We broke it down this morning. He told you we were going to do it today. Super Bowl Spectacular, episode 222, the Talking the Line pod. Essentially, we went, line by line, prop by prop, maybe not every single, 450, but for the most part, most of these markets, and we found some that we think we have some really solid value. What I will tell you, Jeff, as far as one thing that I really like, I'm not saying this isn't my staunch opinion of this is absolutely happening. One play that I think people are overlooking, if you're buying into what I said as far as the Rams defense having a lot of success, I hear a lot of people that are singing that tune interested in Aaron Donald to win MVP in this Super Bowl, and I'm not hating on that by any means. You look, and Aaron Donald is like plus 1,400, 1,500 to win that award. You look, and a guy that's been putting up more numbers, at least physical numbers, Von Miller, right around 4,000, 4,500. I personally think that's low risk, high reward, bang for your buck type of play. Last 7 games, 7 sacks, dating back to like week 15, 7 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, 12 tackles for loss, leads the team in postseason sacks and tackles for loss above Aaron Donald. Ironically enough, a lot of that production is because of what Aaron Donald does, right? But that type of stuff is more on film and not so much on paper for Aaron Donald. So I personally believe that should be closer to like plus 2,000, plus 2,500. So from a value standpoint, as far as MVP, that's where I put a small sprinkle on. And obviously, if you think the Rams offense is going to have a lot of success, then Stafford is probably the right choice there. But I just think with the way that this defense could show up, I think that's worth a sprinkle. And in addition to that, most sacks at plus 360, Von Miller is probably my favorite play of the entire Super Bowl. From a value standpoint, as far as even if you like the Bengals, you have to imagine Joe Burrow is going to get sacked a few times in this game, or at least 2 or 3 times. And the way that Miller's been putting up that sack production, that's where I'm going with my most confidence, I would say, is most sacks. Any thoughts as far as that is concerned?
Because I think what's getting overlooked is people are just focusing on the Kansas City game where Burrow did not get sacked. I think you got to go back a week prior to that and see that he got sacked 9 times. Now, I talked to Sean King on Tuesday or Wednesday here, and he talked about he didn't think that the Tennessee defensive front was getting enough credit because they're good at putting pressure on quarterbacks. Obviously, Cincinnati wasn't ready for it, but he was more in awe of the fact that you could get sacked 9 times and it didn't affect Joe. He just got up and kept going. So I agree 100% with what you're saying. I love the value with Von Miller. He's been there. He's done this before. So I said alone that there's got to be at least 4.5 sacks in this game. I got to think that the Rams will meet somewhere in the middle. Some of the props following that would be, I think Joe Burrow's rushing yards is over 14.5 yards. So he's going to be pressured. He's going to, get out of the pocket and run a few times. So I think he gets to that, but I love where your head is there. I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think, or thinking back to last year's Super Bowl, we didn't expect Patrick Mahomes to be running for his life for 60 minutes, but that's where he was, and the sacks didn't come as much in that game, and I'm not saying it's to that magnitude, like 31-9 or 10 or whatever it is. I'm not saying it's going to be that aggressive as far as him running for his life, but I do think it's going to be some type of abbreviated form of that, and I personally believe, I mean, you said it, 9 sacks against the Titans. That is, I give a lot of Titans credit to that Titans team. If you're giving me a front 7 that's putting similar amounts of pressure on teams as that Titans team, like the Rams are, and you mentioned last week with the Bengals the Chiefs not sacking them, the Rams haven't put up the last 2 weeks in the playoffs a high amount of sacks, but that's because the Bucks and the Niners have a really solid offensive line, and they're top 10 in the league in quarterback sacks per game. Bengals are 30th in the league in sacks per game, so. Again, I cannot say how much I love Von Miller in this game enough. Aaron Donald, too. If you're coming in with Aaron Donald in action, I am not going to hate you at all. I personally, as far as that value, absolutely love that. The other one, and you mentioned it to us, I honestly don't remember if this was last week when we were talking or on Monday for Wise Words. It's easy to come to this game with, Cooper Kupp over 105. He's been on. So I have an opinion here. If you do like Cooper Kupp to have a big game, Jeff, I'm not touching that 105. I'm not. But if you've been riding the train the entire season, I get it. take your eyes to a different one. Player to have most yards from scrimmage. Cooper Kupp at plus 270 is the favorite on that list. Plus 270. If you think he's going to have 150 yards, instead of going to his over 105 yards or maybe an alternate total 125 yards, go to the most yards from scrimmage, because unless you think it's going to be a crazy shootout and Jamar Chase is putting up 200 yards, I kind of how I'm thinking of all of this as far as the Bengals offense is going to struggle more than people think. In addition to that, yards from scrimmage, Mixon hasn't been putting up that type of rushing yards numbers. I think he could be a nice little factor in the receiving game. But all encompassing, I think the value at plus 270 for most yards from scrimmage for Cooper Kupp is off the charts, in my opinion, Jeff.
No, I agree. And in a fantasy standpoint, Cooper Kupp killed me all year. And in our drafts, we would have had to move him up where we were drafting in all our drafts to the third round early, and he just wasn't on our board. And I've had that kid since diapers. In 2017, he was a part of my 2 national championships. So I love the kid to death. I'll go back to Mike Francesa. If you weren't at the wedding, I'm not going to the funeral. And I wasn't a part of the Cup train all year. So then, everyone's in my lanes are saying, well, the same thing. Well, they're going to lean now to OBJ. And I think his numbers are a little inflated. The sharps are against Van Jefferson and the over 2.5 receptions. Funny story, last year's Super Bowl, I had Hardman over 1.5 receptions, and I had him anytime touchdown, and I had him on his over the yards. The first play from scrimmage, Mahomes hits him for a pass. I'm like, Jesus, I got 59 minutes to get one more catch here. 4 more looks, 4 more offers, no touchdown, drop pass touchdown. And I would you couldn't ask for a better setup than that.
Right. Absolutely. I was just looking to see if I had anything else. I forgot to bring this to our show, Jeff, so I'll bring it to this. This was more of an entertainment play. Jersey number of the first touchdown scorer, over under 18.5. I think the under was at plus 100. The over was at minus 120. So definitely more of an entertainment play on this one. But if you're going under, that includes OBJ, Cooper Kupp, Stafford, Van Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Joe Burrow. So some of the biggest names on this list are to the under, whereas the over is Cam Akers. So running backs, Cam Akers, Sony Michel, Higgins and Boyd are the other 2, and then the tight ends and Mixon. So I actually forgot to bring that to our show this morning, so I'm glad I had the chance to bring that one through. That one might be an entertainment play for me, where you're getting the best 4 options on the under at plus 100. I might take that action over here.
Final score.
I've got the Rams. I said it this morning. I've got the Rams 27-17. I think the Bengals offense struggles kind of like they did in that Titans game, but I trust Matt Stafford to put up a little more at the points in action than old Ryan Tannehill did in that game. So give me 27-17 Rams.
And the over that the public's killing is McPherson field goals over 1.5. He's got 12 so far, 12 for 12, by the way, Money McPherson. And yet the over-under is only over 1.5 minus 115. So I think you nailed that prop right there.
Yeah, that one has been talked about way too much for my opinions. We had a couple different angles as far as that one, Jeff. Will either kicker successfully make a 55-plus yarder plus 390? I mean, if you're buying into either of those guys to hit a long one, Colton kind of said it, and then we kind of talked through it a little more. Maybe the Bengals get on the edge of 40-yard line, 45-yard line. 3 seconds left, and they just throw McPherson out there. Not only that one, but also there was another one. Direction of this is a very, very, very deep dive, nonsense stuff. If you're not a fan of this stuff, direction of first missed field goal, left, right, or short. Short is at plus 1120, and I know that sounds crazy, but maybe they run this guy out there. Maybe they get to the 50-yard line, and they know, all right, well, we've got a leg here. I like our chances with McPherson for a 67-yarder as opposed to a first half Hail Mary. Maybe we toss in McPherson to try and boom this one in, and he goes short at plus 1120. Had the thought afterwards, what if it's short and left? I don't know how they score that one. Maybe they catch them both. I don't know. But 11-20 for shortest, first missed field goal to go short. I don't know if it was you or someone else that we were listening to as far as Matt Gay has been chunking field goal. Was that you that was telling us that? Yeah.
He's
right. So maybe that's another one there.
He's chunked too, and he's got just as strong as leg as McPherson and just as accurate. He hasn't had as good as playoff, obviously. The first one was 47-yarder. And I said it on your show. It was like you step into the tee box and you just hit it fat. You hit it right behind it. And he's done that now twice.
So, hey, this one, another entertainment one, and this one's a little more crazier if you're really trying to get goofy, but short first missed field goal plus 1120. How about it?
Riley at RMAGS TTL Sports at Talking the Line. Close it out. Tell everyone where they can find you, Colton, podcasts, you name it. I mean, amazing hour. I can't thank you enough. Tell them where to find you.
Of course. Thanks to you for having me on as always. You can find me, RMAGS TTL Sports. That is my Twitter handle. You find my partner who's on Jeff's show yesterday, Thursday afternoons, Colt TTL Sports. And then the two of us have 3 shows together. Find us Talking the Line at Talking the Line on Twitter. That's where you can find just about all of our stuff. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time is our daily show where we give our best bets of the day, and then just a whole lot of nonsense after that. Today, if you're looking for a deep dive on just about everything Super Bowl wise, we had our show today that did that. So episode 222 of the Talking the Line podcast. TalkingTheLine.com is your one-stop shop for just about anything. He's going to have, big UFC card. We didn't even mention UFC tomorrow night, pay-per-view. He is our resident UFC guy. He's going to have a blog coming out either tonight or tomorrow morning. So be on the lookout for that. You follow him, follow our Talking the Line page. You'll get that action. Instagram, talking the underscore line. I think I'm talking the line. Those underscores get me every single time. And then Facebook, YouTube, Talking the Line Sports Media. You can find us every which way. I haven't started it yet, but going to get some golf blogging coming down the pipe here pretty soon, Jeff. 3-3 on the year, all plus money, so in the green so far. Got some more action coming this weekend. But aside from that, go check out our show today. We'll be live tomorrow morning breaking down the entire college basketball slate. Cup of Joe on campus, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Catch that one on our YouTube or on our social media, Twitter, Facebook. That one's not on podcast, but you go to our Talking the Line Twitter page. You hit the link tree. You got access to our podcast pages as well for Wise Words, which is the only one that I didn't mention. You were on our show. If you need more of not only myself, but my partner and this guy right here, Wise Words season 2, episode 10, featuring Jeff Dawson was this week, Wise Words podcast. But aside from that, if you need it, go to talkingtheline.com, go to our Twitter, hit the link tree. It's all scrolling down along those lines. But once again, thank you for having me on every single Friday. I love these conversations heading into the weekend, Big Ten action, NFL, whatever it is. I'm thankful, as is my partner, that you've brought us on in these afternoons because we have a blast every single time.
We're the ones with the smiles. I tell you what, I have to give shout out to Mr. Dave Sharapan, who's on Radio Row right now, living the life like a rock star. And he reached out last night to me and he's like, "Hey, breakfast bankroll." And I was like, "Oh my God, Dave is going to embrace us with his presence on Radio Row." Well, MLB Network calls him and someone else called him. So I got beat by a couple big networks, but at least he reached out and, threw me the change up and I swung and missed, but it was the thought that count. But for you guys, listen, anyone watching, listening that is not following these guys, please. These guys are amazing. They bring youth. They bring energy. They are so well educated. They're 99.999% better than whatever you're going to get on social media. And you guys got to follow him. And the great thing about himself and Colton is if you ask a question, they reply, they answer back. And you know what? None of us have those blue check marks, but we reply and we answer. So we're as real as it gets. We eat, sleep, drink, poop this stuff, and we have passion. And that's what it's all about in our lanes. We can't thank you guys enough, honestly.
Well, right back at you, Jeff. I appreciate those kind words. I mean, we don't tire of having these shows with you because we truly enjoy your insights. Truly enjoy talking to you. First of all, and yeah, you said it, man. We are that passionate about all these things. We eat, sleep, and breathe it. And from it's the second we wake up to the second we go to bed, we're watching or looking at sports or anything of the sorts, talking to people about it. So I appreciate the words, my friend. Let's have a damn Super Bowl weekend and everything else all encompassing. I can't wait for this weekend of action. It's starting tonight, I guess, but all encompassing. I am so excited for this weekend to bid farewell to the NFL. we'll see what nonsense is in store for my team over the next few short weeks. We'll see that for my Packers, but feeling good about everything across the board, Jeff. Thanks once again for having me on.
From myself, Jeff Dawson, Riley Magnuson, we wish everyone a great day, a super weekend, and we always, always, always on this channel want everyone to wager and invest responsibly. If you have a problem, pick up the phone. There's an 800 number available. Ask for help. Why? Because we care. We want to see you here today, tomorrow, next week, next month, through 2022 and beyond. Everyone have a blessed day. Cash some tickets. Have some fun with these games. Okay, don't live off the edge of your damn channel. Get ready for halftime and Snoop and
Oh,
Dr.
baby.
Dre, and have a blast. And we will see you later tonight.